two serpents. Hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. My dear, wondrous friends. You're just wonderful people, and I'm so happy. Today, I'm here to give you sort of a trailer breakdown analysis of, or overall discussion of the Pikmin 4 reveal that happened. That's real. It is real. It is real. I'm sorry this video was a little late. I usually like to do these as soon as possible, but the whole Pikmin thing, I don't know. Something in my brain was just like, just don't rush. Just, you know what I mean? It didn't feel right. I didn't even like need the extra time like for the content itself. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Also, I've been sick. I'm recovering, so that's sorry. It's another good, convenient reason to wait a couple days. And it's funny. This is weird. I have a lot of feelings about this. Just like feelings going through my head over the last few days. To the point where, like, I almost feel like I have to make a separate video just about that. I don't know if that would be entertaining at all. Like, if this is just purely, like, analytical, looking at what we see, and then I just, like, what even is that? What do I title that video? How do I package that? I don't know. But I might have to do it anyway. Just like, here's what I'm feeling right now. But right now, we're gonna focus on the reveal. I don't even want to call it a trailer. It was a teaser, I suppose. And first, we're gonna go over what we can see visually in the teaser, and then at the end, we'll talk about the stuff that Miyamoto says about it and what that could mean for the game. And you know, it's a bit of a bummer, because when Pikmin 3 was fully revealed, they had a much bigger reveal, and there was so much more to like look at and just like break down and analyze, but I didn't have a YouTube channel then where I could do that as a part of my job. And like, you know, I do like a Zelda trailer breakdown, but I'm not like the most knowledgeable Zelda person, you know, like I'll do these when they make sense, but like Pikmin is it's my territory. It's my forte. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I wish there was more to break down here, because I'm like, I could finally be that guy who's like, go watch a different person for a better breakdown. Like, no, I think I'm the guy for the job. But we really don't have much here, but we will, we'll take what we can get, right? We don't even have any new Pikmin. I remember in the original reveal, there was like, right at the end, there was like the flying Pikmin, but you couldn't even tell it was a Pikmin. You had to like they didn't even put a spotlight on it. I was hoping for something like that here. I've combed over this thing quite a lot. But what do we got? Okay, so it starts off, the first shot, basically nothing. Sorry to say, basically nothing. I mean, like, not nothing. It's gorgeous and it's beautiful and I love it. But like, as far as like new info goes, it's just like kind of a nice little garden area. It looks, at least, you know, on the surface, like it's mostly maybe even assets from 3, you know, just like some of the same flowers and structures and whatnot. You know, you got the butterfly, looks to be basically identical. If there's anything to glean from this shot, though, we can see that the texturing on the ground is a lot better. It's just better than it was in 3. So that's something, you know? I mean, I would say, 3 looked really beautiful, but there were a lot of assets that looked like they had carried over from when it was a Wii game. And that did include some of the texturing on the ground. So like, cool, this just looks better. You look at the ground a lot, that's gonna look really, really nice. So there you go, we got something already. I am analyzing a teaser for Pikmin 4 right now. Sorry, that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing right now. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, next shot. So this is the first glimmer that we get of new stuff. You know, I'd say the star of the show, the star attraction on this short little clip is the park bench. And it's funny because from title to title, each Pikmin game has given us progressively more human elements. You know, the first game was very naturalistic, very few human bits. And then in 2, you had the treasures, a lot more structures. And then 3, I don't know, it's just a much less natural environment, more like, you know, humans lived here. And they seem to be taking it, at least from what we can see here, further in that direction. You know, this is a very lived in garden area. There's a lot of stuff, like a park bench. Like, that is a very large, natural human structure. And it's actually a kind of a big thing as far as like standing objects go. I don't know, like you don't really, and I think a lot of this is probably gonna be unlocked, the potential, because of the new perspective or control scheme that Miyamoto's talking about, because you're lower to the ground, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. So right now we see that you're going under a park bench, which is just cool. We can see lots of other stuff and structures kind of in the background, but those are more visible in other shots. And man, oh, just seeing the little tiny dwarf bulborbs walking around down below the bench. Oh, I love it. It looks so, it's just, oh, it already looks so good. It really reminds you how small you are. You know, it's kind of easy to forget when you're playing Pikmin just how small your characters are. So that's that, the park bench, that's really the thing. Okay, so then we get the next shot, and here we got, you know, a sleeping bulborb, standard Pikmin stuff. We got a fence, you know, that's cool. I don't think we've had that exact fence before, and we can kind of see like little glimpses of objects behind the fence. Obviously, those could just be part of some structures, or they could be items or something. I don't know, just kind of whatever. Doesn't matter. Star of the show on this one is the stopwatch. And it's interesting because they show us this shot right before it goes into the, you know, the title, the Pikmin 4, the part where your heart explodes. And it does seem very purposeful. And the funny thing is, like, this could mean anything. Nintendo does like to give, like, little hints about stuff in trailers like this, but we never usually know what it does mean. It's always a hint that's not even really a hint. It's more just like a, I don't know, more just a herald that there's gonna be a new thing, but we never really guess what it is until they tell us. It is worth noting the stopwatch is stuck. It's ticking, but it's not advancing time. I am not the kind of person who looks at a stuck clock and tries to determine something out of it. It's at the date that it's gonna come out or something. Unfortunately, I don't think, that's not a way that Nintendo usually works. So I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna ignore the time that it's stuck on for now, and look at the watch itself. And it's funny because, like, it could mean anything. It could really actually mean anything, you know? It could be a hint about some new timing mechanic, you know, that's just built into the day system. Or maybe it's just something story-related, you know? Maybe that watch is an important story thing. But naturally, I have to go on just the information that I have right now. So if I were forced to take a guess, I would say it could mean the return of treasures. In the first game, you're collecting ship parts to, you know, repair your ship and get off the planet. Then in the second game, you come back to look for treasures, which to us is just like junk, you know, just like stuff laying around. But to them, it's treasure. And like, you know, I would say after doing fruit in the third one, I've always thought that like returning to ship parts or treasure, probably most likely treasure, would be a perfectly fine way to do it, you know, like they're always gonna want treasure. Olimar is like a crazy treasure obsessed guy now, so like, I don't know, you could do treasures basically any number of times. So I would not be surprised if that's what this meant and that watch is just a treasure sitting there on the wall. Unless they've got some grand idea for a, you know, a brand new collectible mechanic that I haven't thought of, or if it's gonna be like not one singular thing you're going after. I'd say treasure is decently likely. So that's it for the actual little teasery part, but then when Miyamoto is talking about the controls, we get this image, and it's funny because this is like the most detail-rich image of all. And we can see the same stopwatch and presumably the same bulborb from before. This is just from a different angle. This is when you actually approach and do the Pikmin, the murdering and stuff. And like, we're really starting to see the awesome background elements. And again, we'll talk about it in a bit, but the whole like perspective, if we're just getting more of just the area, the background, like that's really, really cool. Because, you know, the first game was very, the camera was very stuck facing down. You never really saw any walls. And then in the second game, you get the ability to kind of bring the camera behind you so you can kind of see the distant walls. And then in 3, you've got the camera mode so you can actually kind of like look up to the trees. And it looks like this is an even further advancement of just that idea of the world surrounding you being more just richly detailed and fully realized, which is of course incredibly exciting. Oh my gosh, it's exciting. Yeah, and the way in the background we see like a little fence, like a wall with a gate and some steps leading up to it. Looks super nice. And we also just see a lot of stuff. I don't know what to call it, just like level elements, you know, little blocks and doodads and stuff that will presumably be, you know, traversing and grabbing stuff off of. Can't really tell what any of it does. It's all too fuzzy and in the background. You can see a faucet though. Could be for decoration, could be a mechanic. Maybe you hit it, the water comes out, could be cool. I don't know, we'll see. So back to what's going on in the foreground. Naturally, here we actually get to see a captain and some Pikmin. Again, only the basic Pikmin colors, unfortunately. Once again, if I had to guess, I would say this, I mean, as anyone would, that guess that this captain here is Brittany from 3. Basically the same color hair. It might not be though. The hair is a little bit different. Her haircut is different in 3. Could be she just got a haircut. Could be this is her sister. Could be this is someone else entirely. When Nintendo was first revealing details for 3, they were showing off like concept art for characters that didn't even end up making it into the game. So yeah, could be Brittany, could be someone we've never met before, could be someone who won't even be in the game when we finally get our hands on it. Who knows? And that is literally all the information that we have to go on, unless there's like more happening in the background that I can't see. You know, someone will do some sort of computer reconstruction to be like, oh, there's a water wraith in the background, is the plot. I don't know. I think this is just about all we have, which is frustrating. Like, what would it hurt them? What would it hurt them to give us just a little bit more? Never mind, getting emotional. This is one of the reasons I had to wait a couple days. Just gotta step it back. So since that's everything we have, let's finally take a look at the stuff that Miyamoto was saying. It probably goes without saying, but like, yes, I definitely, I feel, I appreciate the irony that my favorite Nintendo property is controlled just entirely at the whims of such a weird, I'll just say a weird man, a man who is legendary but also has these design philosophies and makes these decisions sometimes that I don't get. I don't think they're good. I know it's just a weird thing. I'm trying to be positive here. But I have spent a few days really chewing on what he says here. And this is like, I mean, all we get is just a couple sentences here. So like, we really gotta break it down just to kind of figure out what he's saying. I feel like what he's saying here makes sense to anyone who knows what he's saying, but like, it's weird. It doesn't seem like it makes sense. Whatever, let's go over it. He says, you'll be able to play like this, from the Pikmin's perspective, near the ground. I also made a new t-shirt. And then he goes more on, like, with the controls, like, more about that. I don't know why the t-shirt thing is not related at all. He's in the middle of explaining the controls, and in the middle, he mentions the shirt and then just keeps going with the controls. Weird. Weird. But this first chunk here, the idea that we're going to be able to play like from a perspective closer to the ground, that's the biggest thing we've got to go off of here. And this is definitely, I mean, like in the image where he's explaining it, you can see that the camera is kind of down close to the Pikmin and the captain. And then just the fact that you can see the background elements so well, and like going under a park bench, like that would not be possible in any of the previous games. The closest thing that we have had is Pikmin 3, where whenever you're approaching a boss arena, then you get like a special little area where you're not really doing any like major controlling. So the camera kind of comes down behind you because, you know, it can, because you don't need to be controlling your troops and throwing and stuff. So it's just kind of there, and then you get like this nice view of the boss arena. And that is very cool. It's very good for mood. So if they can somehow implement that into the gameplay just naturally, then that's great. Yeah, like that enables something like the park bench, where it's not just a special scene where you're going in there because there's a boss in there. It's just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna go into this park bench. And like that is, I mean, like, yeah, like looking at the positive side, the potential of that is huge. Like this could be the most just engrossing, beautiful, and just immersive Pikmin game ever by a wide margin. However, like obviously this does, I mean, even just me explaining this process, you can see the problem. The whole thing about Pikmin is it's a little bit like an RTS. You want kind of a more top-down perspective because you need to be able to see everything. You know, you're commanding your Pikmin, you need to know where your captain is, where your Pikmin are, where enemies are. You control the captain and the cursor, so you need to see where the cursor is. So that is a strange idea. In that light, the idea of taking the camera down is weird. And so we don't know if this is something that, like, does Pikmin 4 play totally differently from the other ones? Have they completely redone the control scheme? Is this something that is optional? Is this something that you only really do when you're, like, going under a park bench and the rest of the time you just, you know what I mean? Like, maybe you can just switch to that perspective easily, which would be just as good. You could still look around well and then kind of go back to normal. I don't know. He says you'll play from that perspective, and then in the little picture, you know, you see the character just throwing Pikmin at the Bulborb. I mean, like, technically, well, you know what? Before we go too much deeper, let's hear the other stuff he says. Nintendo Switch has made controlling the game simpler. It's already a weird statement. The Switch didn't do anything that could not be done on a regular controller for the past, like, 20 years. I don't know, like, what about the Switch makes it simpler. Don't understand that. Maybe that means he's just, like, going back to a regular control scheme and not trying to integrate, you know, pointer controls. Maybe, like, as a default, it's going to be, like, gyro aiming for the cursor, but then you're still controlling the captain. I don't really know. So, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the Nintendo Switch did to make it simpler. And I will say, again, at this point, yeah, it's Miyamoto, and it's Pikmin, and the first thing he does when talking about Pikmin 4 is something about new controls, and yes, that scares me. I'm trying to be positive, but yes, it does scare me. To beat a thoroughly dead horse, just look at Star Fox Zero. Even if a lot of people thought the controls were good, it doesn't really matter. If half of your audience or more thinks they're terrible and it makes the game bomb, it was not the right thing. So yes, I am a little bit scared of what Miyamoto is capable of when it comes to Pikmin. I don't think he's gonna ruin it. It's on the table though. It's on the table, certainly. Whatever. Positive. We're still trying to figure out what he's saying. Okay, so Nintendo Switch has made controlling the game simpler, meaning you can further concentrate on the core essence of Pikmin gameplay. Again, weird. I don't know what that means, because, like, Pikmin gameplay is already really great. Like, there's nothing really getting in the way. They've given us new control schemes, which have only made it more interesting, more strategic, easier to engage with. You know, I mean, I don't know. There are ways to simplify and streamline control schemes without, you know, quote unquote, watering them down or making them worse. And this is good. This is a very, very good thing here that he says. He says, we call it Dandori in Japanese, or strategically planning, deploying, and commanding the Pikmin. That has nothing to do with what he has been saying. Again, it's all confusing. That doesn't really tell us anything about the stuff he said before that, even though it sounds like it's all strung together, at least in my mind. None of it really links together. However, it does make me feel a little bit more at ease. He's not gonna water down the game and turn it into something really simple, because clearly he sees here that planning, deploying, and commanding the Pikmin is important. As long as there are still ways to do that, then that's good. Are they gonna revamp the whole thing and make it completely different, where you're down, the camera is down by you, and you're, like, controlling it more? I mean, like, that's one option. It could just be, like, an over-the-shoulder third-person game, where you're just throwing them like that. But then the problem is, if you can't, like, if there's no cursor to, like, aim, the whole thing about Pikmin is you can aim them at specific spots and make them land on specific spots and, you know, shoot around enemies. And if you're just aiming from yourself and in a straight line away from you, that's definitely gonna, it's a lot fewer options. But it could be integrated with some sort of pseudo cursor system. I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks maybe the cursor is going away, or it's gonna be just a lot simpler in the way that it is tied to you. I really don't know. We really have no idea between what he's said about simplifying the controls, but still wanting it to be strategic, but then also bringing the camera down. We don't know how often the camera's down. Basically, it's a great big question mark. We really just don't know. The stuff that he said here only gave us more questions. And that is why, very unfortunately, we have reached the end of this analysis of the teaser trailer for Pikmin 4. And I don't want to stop. I want there to be more. I don't even care about spoilers. I just want to pick apart the whole thing. That's really all we've got, though. I will say, I mean, like, you never know with Nintendo. I mean, I really hope this doesn't end up being one of those games that, like, you know, we hear about it here, and then a year from now, we still haven't heard anything, and then, like, there's a direct, and they're like, oh, yeah, we gotta delay it into 2024, and then we just don't hear about it until really, oh, I'm really hoping so much that just, like, in February, we get the full blowout, comes out in June or something. I just, like, come on. You know, it's definitely a little bit scary that they gave us nothing. Just nothing to go off of. But they say it's coming 2024, so it has to be well far along, right? They've been working on it for 9 years, so so it has to, no. Yeah, here's hoping that it is not long before we see more of this game, because I need to see more. But for now, I am happy just knowing it exists. And again, if that sounds interesting to you, just a video about me, just, it's like a therapy session. It's like a therapy session. I'm just talking about just the myriad feelings going on inside of me right now. Let me know down in them comments. Also, let me know, what do you think? Are you happy? Let's just talk about how happy we are. I just wish I could give everybody a hug. I'm so happy. Okay, I'll end the video. It's a Pikmin video, you know? I don't want to end it, but I will. You're wonderful. See you later.